I need some traction.
So the next topic is my favorite topic because emails are our biggest growth driver. 90% of our attendees come as a result of email. Everyone's received our spam mail, probably. Our email database is around 80,000 subscribers for traction. And we couldn't do this without Sendgrid. So up next is Scott Heimes, CMO of Sendgrid. He's going to talk to you about how to use email to engage your audience and drive more business. Give it up for Scott.
Thanks, Lloyd. Good morning, everyone. Really nice to be here today to talk about driving growth through email and engagement. How many of you are startups in the audience? Consider to be scaling growth companies? Cool. It's helpful to understand. So I'm the CMO at Sendgrid, and for those of you that don't know, Sendgrid is in your inbox every day. We are one of the largest email solution providers in the world, offering the ability to drive engagement and growth through the email channel for these big brands, plus a whole bunch of other customers, 52,000 paying customers, another 60,000 free customers. We operate in over 100 countries, 4 offices, and we send almost 1.3 billion emails a day, which is a lot. The product offering that we have is twofold. We have an email API solution, which is what our company was started on 9 years ago. We were a startup 9 years ago as well. Came up with a really great idea to enable people to send email via an API and not have to mess around with setting up your own SMTP servers and building a deliverability team and all that. Our company really took off and scaled. And now we've introduced a new product for marketers called Marketing Campaigns, which competes with products like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor. And all of this sits on top of our email platform. Talked a little bit about scale, right? 1.3 billion emails a day, growing every day. You can see that compared to the number of tweets. Our president probably increases that by about 10% these days in the US. And scale getting to close to massive amounts of email. We just sent our 1 trillionth email, and that took us 9 years to get to that. It's going to take us 2 years to get to our 2nd trillionth email. So it just gives you a sense of the kind of scale and growth that's happening. And the reason that email, and we're scaling so significantly, is that it truly is the center of a digital communication strategy. It's the leading return on investment channel. It's the most pervasive digital ID in the marketplace. It's really built to reach customers in an intimate, conversational way, and so it really enables that digital conversation experience, and it's super secure and trusted by recipients. It's extremely well known. So this is a channel that, in conjunction with a variety of others, it really optimizes your acquisition and engagement mix, and we're big fans. So how many of you use email to communicate with customers today? All right, most of you, which I would expect. Email, humble beginnings. First one was sent in 1971. The first piece of spam was sent 7 years later by a guy trying to sell DEC computer systems to the initial email list. And webmail really started in 1993, which really accelerated the use of email. Huge today, 205 billion emails sent every day. About half of them are fraudulent. And there's about 2.6 billion email users out there. We send to actually 1.8 of them. There are 4 billion accounts worldwide. 25% of these are business, and most importantly, the open rate for legitimate good email is in the 20 to 25% range, which is pretty challenging when you're trying to drive growth. It is the leading return on investment channel in the market, an average of $38 for every dollar spent, recent study by the DMA. And what I want to talk to you about today are 5 really practical keys for driving growth via the email channel. And I want to talk about the design of your emails, the content within them, the contextuality or personalization that you apply to make them relevant, realities around global email sending, and then perhaps most importantly, you can do all this great stuff, but if you don't get your email in the inbox, it's all for naught. And so deliverability, which is a really arcane kind of black magic to do it well, is super important. We'll talk about that as well. So let's start with design. Almost all the examples that I'm going to use today are mobile examples because over 60% of all email today is opened on mobile devices, actually higher in Canada. It's closer to 66% in Canada. And in terms of design, one of the most important elements that you want to do is design your email and write your copy around your call to action, right? This call to action at the bottom of the email that is driving and persuading action is super important. We've got all kinds of examples of our customers in here. Here's one from Uber that uses a whole bunch of social CTAs, trying to get people to forward and share with their friends. Make sure that your typography and your images and your icons all align with your brand, right? This is super important. A lot of times companies will go out and have the email done by a separate part of the organization or outside of the creative team. You want to make sure it's super aligned with your brand and that your logo is the first thing that they see when they open the email. Really practical, right? But use the color of the imagery, the typography that reinforce your brand. And then most importantly, you have to A/B test everything. If you're not A/B testing, one of the biggest takeaways from my talk today, start a process of A/B testing. You want to test your call to action, one versus the other, or two or three. Your colors, your imagery, your typography, your font size, the placement of your call to actions. Here's an example of one of our clients from the US, CB2, big retailer. They A/B tested this email where they had the rug, the sofa sale, and the shade sale or rug sale. Rug sale on top on the left, sofa sale on the bottom. One just clear action on sofa sale. It converted at about 16% better because it was simpler and clearer. Obviously that one wins. It drives more revenue for CB2. Okay, next item is content. And content's super important. There are really interesting little realities and tricks out there. We've done a ton of research on the size of subject lines, for example. And what we found, and all this is available on our blog, if you just want to check it out at sendgrid.com, all the research that we've done around this. 3 words win out every time. It drives a 20% higher conversion, right? So simple things like knowing that. Also making sure that you choose your buzzwords really carefully. You know, yesterday converts better than today, weirdly. Hashtags and emoticons, avoid them like the plague. They don't work, right? They'll convert much less. So make sure you think about that. Also, make sure you use this incredibly valuable pre-header real estate to tell stories and to reinforce your call to action. A lot of people just ignore this and use the standard one that gets presented. This is marketing real estate, folks. You got to use this and really drive it to leverage. And avoid giving too many call to actions or making it too confusing. Make it simple and easy for your users, right? Here's an example of request ice cream on demand tomorrow. Clear call to action to get engagement between Uber and their customer base, and it really works. All right? Next up is personalization or contextualization. There's a major trend happening today that I'm sure you're all deeply engaged in of using data, particularly behavioral data and other types of elements to drive personalized experiences. And you do this because it works. It increases in this B2C study from Marketing Sherpa open rates by 41%, right? And you want to make sure that your emails are timely, that they're relevant, that they're highly personalized, and that they're regionalized for the user. This is one of our customers, Bands in Town, which promotes when bands are in town. And this one, personalized to Evan. It's relevant because of the bands that he likes, and it's like ones that he's selected in his profile. Super personalized with his name, and it's regional to the area that he lives in. Very relevant email to receive. Another one of our clients, eBay, leverages triggered email super effectively. They're all based on recipients taken, or actions taken by the recipients. So, for example, they may have participated in an auction, and now they want to see, hand-picked auctions for you that are relevant. Thought you might be interested in products like these, right? So, what eBay has done is they have built their own custom campaign management tool. They are using so many different data feeds and personalizing to really a recipient of one that they found it to their advantage to build their own campaign management tool, and they send all their email via our API. One interesting thing about eBay in particular is they've developed the ability to actually render email content in real time upon opening. So they can send an email promotion about an auction that they thought somebody would like based on an auction they participated in the past. And if they don't open it for 4 days and the auction gets completed and a new one pops up, they actually present a newly relevant auction in that email before the user opens it, and it gets rendered in real time. So we're talking about true one-to-one personalization at scale. It's the kind of driver for revenue that eBay absolutely depends on. It's a key part of their growth. Also, emails once again become more interactive with the implementation of CSS3 and HTML5. You're now seeing more and more companies build actual interactive experiences inside the email themselves. Here's one of our customers, Jack Threads, that have actually built an e-commerce experience inside the email, enabling purchases to take place without ever going to their website. Super powerful use of the technology. We're seeing more and more of that across our customer base. And we recently did a big study with Forrester, got published today, about key trends in personalization as it relates to email. And really we're finding just data consolidation and personalization challenges across the entire marketplace, which is driving a lot of larger senders to build their own tools and to look at partners like Sendgrid or Twilio for SMS to deliver those elements out into the market. Big trend that's happening today. All right, globalization, next topic. When it comes to globalization, you must localize your experience in the language, the content, and the offers that are relevant for your recipients outside of the US or Canada. If you're doing e-commerce, you've got to have localized currency and alternative payment types in your experience, or you're frankly just sub-optimizing your conversion. You're going to see 20 or 30% higher conversion off of email that's localized. And you must ensure that your compliance with global email regulations is highly relevant, right? There are different elements around the globe. You're, I'm sure, all familiar with CASL, the Canadian anti-spam law. Also, users engage differently around the globe. You can see here in India, ironically, they open a lot more email on their desktop than they do in their mobile phones, because a lot of them have flip phones across that country. But in the UK and Japan, here in Canada, mobile access of email is pretty high, 67% almost in Canada, based on our 45 billion emails sent every month. So you have to be super relevant and focus on your mobile experience, really, really important. Also, the different ISPs operate differently around the world. The big four, Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, and Microsoft, very sophisticated. In order to manage your reputation, which I'll get to next, you need to really understand their rules and regulations, but also thousands of other ISPs around the world that are much less sophisticated. So if you're sending aggressively to an ISP in Europe like Orange, they're less sophisticated around how they think about email compliance. And so they may throttle your size volume down to just 100 million emails or something, just because they're trying to protect their network. And you need to understand those different regulations to be effective around international sending. All right, so the last topic, and perhaps the most important one, is this arcane concept of deliverability, which is the email industry's term for getting the email in the inbox itself. And it's super important because 21% or more of legitimate email never reaches the inbox, right? It's a major problem if you're sending 100 million emails and only 80% of them show up. And deliverability is super complex, which is why it's such a challenge. There's both technical and human aspects. On the technical side, you need to understand things like your IP architecture and your sending reputation off your IP addresses. Email authentication, weird things like transport layer security, automated bounce and complaint processing. All these things are directly affecting your reputation if you're not doing them well. And then on the human side, there's elements like whitelisting, the compliance realities that you need to follow, and all the ISP relations and remediation, which I'll get into next. Deliverability impacts everything from reach to conversion to the opportunity to actually engage. So again, if your deliverability strategy is not optimized, you're wasting a lot of cycles, which is why it's so important. So what do you need to do about deliverability? First of all, you need to learn the compliance rules of the road if you're not clear on them already. They're different all over the world. CAN spam in the US, CASL here in Canada, the German opt-in requirements. There's the new federal data protection law that's about to be implemented inside of Europe. Really complex, and to be an effective global sender, you need to understand this stuff. Also, real challenges around deliverability today. You have to essentially sign each of your emails with an SPF signature and a DKIM record and follow a DMARC policy around managing your domain in the market. And if these things are foreign concepts to you and you don't understand them, consider leveraging a service provider who lives and breathes and does this every day. It's really an effective way. So then you create your smart email campaigns, all the things I just talked about around content and design and making sure you use 3 words for your header and subject line email elements. And then ultimately, you're looking to optimize your deliverability by managing your list at a higher degree of quality. And this is super important, list hygiene. So big takeaways, A/B test everything on the content side. Number 2, you got to manage the hygiene of your list. And what this means is that you need to continually drop 10 or 15% of your low engagers from your list. Don't send to them if they haven't opened an email in 6 or 9 months. They're not interested, and they're damaging your reputation around your domain. Consider not sending email at all to the oldest part of your list just as a regular basis. So you're continually looking to prune your list only into hand raisers that have engaged. And perhaps most importantly, never buy an email list. They are full of spam traps. They are full of bad addresses that negatively affect your reputation. And they essentially will bring your reputation down in the market. So do not send to spam trap or to lists themselves. All right, I think I might have just broke my clicker. There we go. All right, and then make sure you're avoiding detours to the inbox. You need to do things like warm up new IP addresses. Right? If you are sending off of a new set of IPs and you're suddenly blasting out 1 million emails, people like Gmail and Yahoo are going to take a look at that. Oh, new IP address in the field, suddenly sending 100 million or 1 million emails, must be a spammer, shut it down until you have to then reach out and remediate it. And so warming up your IPs is best practice in the market. You want to slowly start sending email over time until your reputation gets built. Make sure you understand your target metrics around opens and clicks and all the things that you're trying to achieve, and then consistently look at ways that you can optimize and make adjustments over time. All right, so clicker's broken. Slide forward in the back. Thank you. So once you've sent and received, how did you do? You want to measure your metrics. Look at delivery rate, open, bounces, clicks, spam reports. How many spam reports are you hitting? And of course, what are your unsubscribe requests? Because those need to be taken off your list immediately. Next slide, please. All right, so closing. You really need to think ultimately around deliverability as a process of managing your sending reputation in the email ecosystem, right? And so every big sender, every big email marketer has a reputation that gets managed and known by particularly the big 4 ISPs. And it can truly open or close the inbox for you. And so it's important that you manage your reputation, and it's complex. If you go to the next slide, the basics of reputation management are first and foremost asking for permission and respecting it from your email recipients. So everybody on your list should have opted into a request to join that list. Make sure that you create an email preference center on your experience. This is super important. A lot of people don't do it. Make an email preference center that allows your recipients to receive more email from you, sign up for more things, or decide they don't want to get that weekly email digest, and respect and manage that. It's a really important part of overall reputation. Every time you get a new user to your list, send them a welcome message and give them an easy opportunity to unsubscribe if they perhaps mistakenly did so, right? These are best practices. These are what people do to manage their reputation. Remove any unengaged ones that haven't opened an email or haven't clicked on anything in the last 6 to 9 months. They're not engaged. They probably are never going to be. They're just negatively affecting your reputation. And then make it super easy to unsubscribe. On the next slide, there's a bunch of infrastructure elements that need to be accomplished. Making sure that you're using dedicated IP addresses, for example. Oh, look at that, new clicker. Thank you. Are you segmenting your email streams on different IPs, right? A lot of people, big senders, will send their transactional email or automated from an application like a password reset, for example, or a shipping notification on one set of IPs. It's super wanted mail, super high quality, almost always gets opened. Then they'll use their marketing stream on a different set of IPs that has a different set of reputational elements associated with it. That's a very clear best practice in the market. Also, making sure that you have an SPF record, a DKIM signature, and a DMARC policy in place. These are, again, best practices around email and reputation management. So, with that, a few key takeaways. Number one, on the design side, make sure you're designing your emails with a clear call to action, that it's aligned with your brand, looks and feels like your web experience and all your other outbound brand elements. Making sure that you're A/B testing for success every single time. Create compelling content that's highly relevant. Make sure you're aligning around best practices like 3 words for your subject lines, for example, and avoiding emoticons and hashtags. Contextualize for timeliness and relevancy. Leverage all kinds of different data sources to drive personalized experiences in your email campaigns. Use past history, purchasing data, any type of contextual behavioral data that you can to drive a more relevant experience. It drives increased open rates and better conversion. Make sure you're optimizing for global sending in all the ways that I talked about. And most importantly, if you're not optimizing your deliverability strategy, you're missing value in your email strategy, and you're frankly not engaging as many customers as you could. You're not driving as much growth as you could. So deliverability is directly tied to the success of your email strategy. That's it for me. Thank you very much. It was great to talk to you. Here's my contact info, and have a good rest of the day.
I need some traction. You need some traction. Let's get some traction.